This meeting and all other meetings of this council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, so the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Roll call.
Rasmussen?
Here?
Appleby?
Here.
Gunderson is not present.
Next item is to approve the minutes from the March 2nd, 2015 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 2nd, 2015 meeting.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is citizen appearances. It does not appear that we have any. Our fourth item is the discussion and possible action on city logo clothing.
Yes. Last month we talked about, I think it was EDI Marketing is the company that we would get in touch with. In your packet, you do have two estimates. One would be for a nicer polo shirt, which would have an embroidered City of Weyauwega logo on it, multiple colors if we'd like. And then another one would be similar to the shirt that you have on, Scott. It's a men's and ladies long sleeve poplin shirt. I believe on the last vendor that we looked at, the shirts were roughly $22 to $25 for polo shirts. They had $45 for a long sleeve polo shirt. These guys have $25 to $26 for a polo shirt. It's a nicer one. You can come on down to a lower level if you'd like, and that ends up being about $18 to $20. But then for the long sleeve shirt, it's a nicer shirt than what we had compared it to before, and these run about $23.50 up to $25, $28. So it's pretty manageable cost there. The other thing that they have is a setup charge for a new design for our logo would be a $30 setup charge. They do not have a minimum order, so we have a big catalog. If they've got windbreakers, polos, sweatshirts, those types of things. Basically, if you get a relationship with them and you find one item that one person would like to have, you can order it straight through that company and not have there's basically no volume discounting, so the price for one is the same as price for 50, no matter what product you have. So it sounds like it's a pretty good route to go, and thank you, Scott, for the reference or for getting us connected there. The only other question I guess we probably have is, now that it looks like this is a company that we want to go with because of their pricing, I would imagine that that's probably the case. The thing that's left then is to take a look at what type of a program are we going to have for issuing or mandating shirts for city council and staff, and is the city going to pay for one or none or some? Especially with maybe a new council coming on in a couple weeks, it might be a good idea. Once the new council gets in, you can get everybody's sizes from the council too.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Nick say that if we were going to require the city employees in the office to wear uniforms, that we would supply them with 5?
There was a number that was there. It was 2, 3.
Or 3 or something like that, so that they had
a
rotation of clothing to be able to wear.
Yep. We haven't had a whole lot of work on that, and I don't know that we work too much on shirts for the council if it's going to be a mandatory type thing. Now that we're online and have video out there, if it's something that you'd want to keep that more regular, or make sure everybody's wearing a shirt or a certain color or whatever it would be.
I do believe that the appearance of wearing the city apparel was the main driver behind this whole program.
It was.
So
I think as far as council, we thought maybe just one shirt, and if we wanted more, then that would be up to us, wasn't it, how we decided on?
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Do you have an idea on a certain color if it's the one shirt for council? Because I know we talked about red, white, and black. Any variation of red shirts, white shirts, black shirts, logos, being any of those colors. If you went with one shirt that you bought for the council, or provided. Is there a set color that would be preferred?
Trying to remember what Nick said. I thought he kind of had,
Yeah.
he kind of had an idea.
I think he, carrying the ball for him, and hopefully I recall correctly, I thought he said the red shirts with the black embroidery.
Okay.
But I know we had discussed black shirts with red embroidery as well, but I think I'm gonna hedge towards the
I
red
think
solid.
yeah, I think that would look a lot better.
Okay. What we could probably do, because we don't have everybody's size here, we did get a couple sample shirts from EDI, but they didn't have men's shirts and they were the smaller women, so you could get an idea what the fabric was. Could probably see if we can get some of these sizes from him. Over the next week or couple weeks, we could have everybody on council try them on, so then that way you know what size you're getting.
Sure.
We could probably do that. And then that way, once we get the sizes, then we'll have a dollar amount to bring to finance to say, here's your dollar amount if you're gonna provide a shirt or shirts or whatever it would be.
Right.
So is that okay if we hold that one with that in mind, that we'll get samples and get the sizing
I
and
think
everything
that
straight?
would be the normal chain of events that have to take place before we actually
Yep,
go any further.
that sounds good.
But so far, we're making progress on that.
Yeah, yep. Okay. We could just hold that a month, that should be fine.
I think so
Okay.
too. Yes.
Good.
Our next item is a discussion on City Hall technology and IT upgrades.
Yes, we talked, I think quite a few months we've talked about with the City Hall project and with City Hall IT in general, that there were going to be the server, something that we should probably be doing regardless, or we would have to do. And then the other items with the City Hall project, you do have a copy of the RFQ document that was sent out. Basically, all through March, we had solicited qualifications, and we really wanted to get were vendors that would say, here's what we can do for you with City Hall. And the different components that we put in for the City Hall project, they're listed on page number 3 in your packet there. It's page number 3 in the RFQ. It would be, letter A would be a building security system. So we're looking at door access, which is like the key fobs. We had initially 35 or 36 doors that we identified, but we cut that down to 22. And then that would include key fob readers, and then it laid out the different doors that would be set up for key fob locks. The next item would be for 16 video surveillance cameras through the building. Then the next one would be furnish and install building alarm system. And then we had put in Bixby and CTS trained technicians for the installation. That means a certain level of quality and install that you'd get. So basically what we're looking for is just a general idea on your qualifications on these systems with a rough estimate on price. And what we had told them was, this isn't a bidding process, because right now we're trying to identify vendors, and then we'll identify the full scope on the back end of the project. And so that's A, is building security. B, council chamber meeting room, audio and video. Basically what we looked at was cabling for the meeting rooms, video playback, which would be projectors, DVD players for video presentation. Audio reinforcement would be microphones and speakers so that people in the back of the rooms could hear what's going on. An AV control system, so something that would control the video and the audio. Cabling, we had estimated different data locations. Right now you guys have Chromebooks, we've got, staff has a couple laptop computers. We just wanted to make sure that we'd all have access to the server while we're in that meeting room, which would be a big benefit. Recording, we'd be looking at digital audio and video recording capabilities, so that we could get away from we'd have a more permanent system set up that we could just record straight to the server if we needed to. And then hearing assistance would be a wireless hearing system. So if people had come in and they wanted to get headphones, or if they needed their own personal, something that would amp up the sound for them. Again, these are things that we're not committing to do, but we said, this is basically, if we were going to take care of the whole meeting room, this would be everything that we would need. C then would be network and data cabling for the whole building. So now that we've got this technology, all the offices through the building, we'd want to make sure that all of the workspaces and every space that needs to be plugged into something, that they have access to the network and power and everything too. More so, this is for the network getting on the server. And we had laid out 2 data locations per workspace or office and meeting rooms, estimated 16 data points for the council chambers. That kind of mixes in with B a little bit. And then the key here is we were looking for a 20-year end-to-end manufacturer's warranty on all new cable to be installed. And that represents it's more of a higher end cable.
Is that the industry standard for high quality?
Yes. I mean, there's one of the things that we had been made aware of with Little Chute and Hortonville and some of these other places that had just done buildings is there's a lot cheaper cable you can go with, but it's only got a 1-year warranty. And so when you're wiring the building, you're hoping that once you put things, tuck them away, that you don't have to pull them all out and replace them again. So there is a little bit more expense to that, and I believe off the top of my head it's 3 to 4 times more just for the cable, but then you also have a 20-year warranty on that instead of 1 year.
Okay.
So the 3 that we were looking for were the security, the AV for the meeting rooms, and the data cabling for the building. The 4th one that we put out there was just to get a heads up to these companies that were going to be interested, that we'd be replacing or upgrading our server. And so we put in here that we're collecting quotes to replace our existing server and that they would be reviewed separately from this project because it's something that we've got to do anyway. With that, I had talked to 10 companies, which is very good. 10 companies had called or inquired on the construction plans. They wanted more information on more than just one page of, audio, video, security. Out of those 10 companies, I believe we had 4 of them that had provided their qualifications for building security, the council chamber meeting room, or the data cabling. I'll just tell you the 10 that we talked to were Heartland, Camera Corner, HP, Hewlett Packard had called, Elmstar Electric, Corporate Network Solutions, Globalcom Technologies, Enterprise Systems Group, Complete Control, Suburban Electric, and R&R Technologies. Out of those, Heartland had given a proposal for all 4 of these items, or they gave their qualifications with an estimated cost. Corporate Network Solutions had indicated they're out of Appleton. They indicated that they'd only be interested in the server. But they did refer us to R&R Technologies, which is more of an AV company. So Corporate Network Solutions is only interested in the server. R&R Technologies had been interested in cabling and the meeting rooms. Complete Control, I believe they're out of, it's either Stevens Point or Wisconsin Rapids, and it escapes me the location right now, but they're a security company. So they gave us a quote and a proposal on cameras, door locks, and alarms. And then the other one that's out there is Globalcom, which I believe is out of the Milwaukee area. They gave us a quote on the data cabling for the building and the security system itself. So we've got, for each of these components, we have at least 2 quotes, which is a good thing, because there's a couple other projects that we had referenced that had only gotten 1 quote, and when you do that, it's hard to tell if it's a good price.
Sure.
What we're down to, we're not ready to have this presented to you in full as of yet. On a couple of these items, the building security system, we have 3 vendors, and they're all pretty close, within about $5,000, I believe.
Okay.
On the AV for the meeting room, we're looking at a range between $40,000 and $90,000 on the high and the low. So that's what we're really doing, is looking at, are we comparing apples to apples on that? And then for the data cabling, we have anywhere from $4,000 to $49,000. So we're just verifying that what everybody had quoted was for cabling for sure, that it was the appropriate level of cable. Mm-hmm. That should probably be complete within the next couple days, just to review, to make sure that everybody's quoting the same thing. We're not sharing prices with any of the vendors right now, but I basically just laid out roughly what we're looking at.
Well, they're basically quoting on generalities and not specifics at this point.
Yep.
Anyway, right? So we get ballpark figures?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, so we get an idea. I can tell you that the total for the whole project, we're probably looking, depending on who your vendor is, what you all get, the highest of all of our quotes is like $300,000 for servers, all four of these components. The lowest combination is probably $60,000 to $80,000. So there's a pretty big range there. But again, next Tuesday, the construction quotes will be open for City Hall, and then you'll get an idea where we're at with the budget there, and then that's going to determine how much money is really available or could be available for technology. So, just an update. We did get, I was happy we at least got 2 quotes on every component. That was the big thing, so. We're still working on that yet. And there is just a quick note, there's a closed session on the end of this meeting for these projects, but I'm gonna ask that we don't go into closed session at all tonight, because we're not done.
Too early yet for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We're still reviewing on that, so there's 2 closed sessions, we won't have either of them tonight, so.
Okay, well, good progress on
Yep.
that as well, Patrick. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, our next item is discussion on Microsoft Office 365 options.
We do, we had the Microsoft Office 365 quote through Heartland at the last meeting, or at the last couple meetings. That was roughly $3,100, $3,200 for an annual fee to have Office and email basically in the cloud. One of the questions was, is there an alternative to paying $3,200 per year for this? You know, you're not really buying any of the equipment, it's just an annual cost. We did get a quote from Heartland on an alternative for licensing. You do have a copy of that in your packet. The problem with the alternative there is, if you're not on Office 365, your email technically would be included with your server package, and because we're already shopping that out, we do have a couple of options for email. Heartland is looking in the area of $11,000. A lot of this is one-time cost though, so the comparison is Office 365 is $3,200 roughly a year. The alternative could be $11,000, but that's a one-time payment. But again, it's a rough estimate. I won't break down, what's all in that quote, because as we look at servers, we're also going to be looking at email servers as we look at that. So that will probably change, and I would request that you hold that item a month, because in the next few weeks, we'll clarify where we're at with the server.
Sure.
Okay?
Are you familiar with that Barracuda?
Yes.
Yeah, I am too. Theta Clark has it, and it can really create some headaches in communicating with people.
Yeah.
If they suspect that you have sending a message from a bad site, in Barracuda's interpretation of it, it cuts you out and you can't communicate with anybody, I've noticed, so.
Yeah, I
don't know
was.
how much of a problem that might be in our communications with outside the city.
Well, one thing I could tell you is, so at my prior position before coming here, I was there before and after Barracuda at that point, and it was a little bit of a headache trying to get everybody on the safe list.
Yes.
But eventually, it gets a lot cleaner yet, or it gets a lot clearer. The alternative on our end, though, is right now, whatever our coding is on our emails, a lot of our outgoing email gets tripped up in everyone else's filters. So I'll send emails to the school district, and a lot of that was getting caught in junk where they wouldn't even get it at all. So what we've got now is already kind of putting off alarms to other filters too.
Oh, okay.
But not that that's got a whole lot to do with that, but it's our email can use an upgrade too.
Well, you've got some
Both
experience
ways.
with
Yep.
that Barracuda, so that helps
Yeah.
in itself right there.
Yeah,
I was always on the negative end of that, not really understanding why it was doing what it was doing,
yeah,
so.
yeah. Okay, So yeah, if we could put a hold on that, that would be great.
Okay. All right, let's move on to item number 7 then. Consider resolution opposing state elimination of personal property tax.
Yes, in your packet, you've got a memo from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. There's a proposal that's out there from Representative Culp and Senator Tiffany. They're co-sponsoring a bill that they would introduce. It would eliminate both the personal property tax and the computer aid payments to local governments for tax-exempt computers. Basically what that is you have your real estate, your actual physical property that gets taxed, and then there's also personal property, which is essentially like business equipment that gets taxed. In the personal property program, computers are exempted on some level, and a trade-off for that exemption, so the communities can't collect any tax revenue on that. The state has a exempt computer aid that they send to us, so they basically pay to us. It's roughly $2,700 a year that they basically say that's the trade-off for computers not being taxed. There's a proposal essentially out there that would eliminate personal property tax, and in that situation, what would probably happen is the property owners, so residential property, would end up getting a higher tax burden then because of that. What the league has is basically they put out a memo with the negative ramifications of eliminating the personal property tax, and specifically what the league is opposing is eliminating that tax and not compensating with a aid payment. So for the computers, they eliminated that from being taxed, but the state sends like a shared revenue to compensate for that. What they're saying is if you get rid of personal property, we would oppose that if the state doesn't then turn around and then send, make up for it a little bit.
Correct.
The ramifications for the city, and the third page that you have in there, after you have statistics in general on the amount of money we're talking about through the state, the league puts together what the impact would be to all the municipalities in the state, and it's $290 million that would essentially just would have to be made up, or it would be lost by municipalities. On our end, what we're looking at is the computer aid, again, is about $2,700 in this most recent year. The personal property tax that the city takes in is $42,700 for this most recent year. And what that means is for real estate property owners, if the personal property tax would go away and if the city makes up that difference through property taxes, it would equate to about 46 or 47 cents for every $1,000 of value on your home. So if you had a home that was valued at $100,000, you would end up paying about $4.70 more personally on your taxes just because the personal property tax would be eliminated. That's kind of the impact there. Getting out in front of that a little bit, knowing the league knows that that's probably coming up. What they're asking then is for communities to adopt a resolution that they've basically pulled together. The resolution just opposes the elimination of the personal property taxes if there's not an aid payment that makes up for that loss. So the numbers, you do have the model resolution here. Again, the numbers then for us would be roughly $2,700 in computer aid, which is something that would be also eliminated. And then the $42,000 would be our personal property revenue then. And here the league says, the league is assuming that the $42,000 that we need to make up would be shifted to residential homeowners, and they're asking that that not be the case. So it's being brought to you to review whether you would be in favor of signing on with the league or whether you would prefer not to.
Well, I personally agree with the league's stand on this. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if that's a question being put to us, would we support the league in its stand against this? My vote would be yes. I would support the league in its stand against it.
Okay. basically what they would ask you to do and what you could do then is, the communities that would be in favor of that could pass a resolution. Now, basically, it's not a binding resolution, it doesn't bind the state to do this, but what we would do is if you are in favor of approving it, we'd fill it out with the city's information and then forward it onto the league, onto all of our representatives then, and basically what you're doing is signing on and saying, we're one of the communities that doesn't support.
What is driving this? Why are these two Republicans, senators, a representative and senator doing this for?
I
What's
don't
driving
have the deep information, but basically what this would do is it would lower taxes on businesses. So it would lower your equipment, the tax you pay on your equipment. And in this instance, they're asking either the state to make up for that. So if the state is going to give taxpayers a credit, they'd like that the state or the communities are then sort of made whole or at least reimbursed for that.
The reimbursed part would be key to this whole thing.
Right.
Am I correct in my interpretation?
Right, so on the resolution, the therefore be it resolved, basically they lay out all the statistics on how much is in the personal property tax program for the state, and then they ask each community, again, those numbers we went through, what's your impact? And then the now therefore be it resolved that the city of Weyauwega, if we fill this out, opposes any attempt by the state legislature to eliminate the personal property tax and the computer aid payments local governments receive for these tax exempt computers. And at a minimum, the loss in local tax base and resulting tax shift must be addressed before moving forward with the legislation. So they're saying if you're going ahead to eliminate personal property taxes, please, as a state, before you approve that, make sure you address what the impact is financially to the communities. Which sounds like a pretty straightforward
Yes.
Yeah.
request to make. And like I said, it's not binding, it's when this legislation comes to the state senate and the state assembly, they would have the information then that, these communities are in support of or not in support of what you're looking to do. So if you're in favor of that, if you want to make a recommendation to approve a resolution opposing elimination of personal property taxes, this is the model one. What we'll do is we can number it and then have it at the next council meeting, if that's where you'd want to go. If not, then, it kind of stays here.
Yeah, I want to learn more about this before
That sounds
I
good.
make a decision on whether or not to support it. I've superficially read this and
Sure.
listened carefully to what you said. And my initial, I didn't care for it initially, so I am supporting the league at this point, but I would like to read more.
Yep, that's no problem. That's no problem. We do have, so the league has the memo here, and the Wisconsin Counties Association was on this too. But like they say in here, it has not yet been presented to the state legislature, so it's still out there yet.
Yeah, but it would be nice to get ahead of it.
Yep.
And I think that's what the league is trying to do here.
Yep. So it's not something you have to act on tonight. If you need more information, I can look at, obviously more info will come in. We could probably get an idea of all the communities that are signing on or not signing on. You can get an idea on that too.
Okay.
So it's not a rush for this at all. We can hold it, but it's more to bring it to your attention that it's out there.
Okay.
Okay?
Very good. Thank you for that.
Yep.
I think we'll investigate this further as time goes on.
That sounds good.
Okay, then, moving on, we'll make a motion to approve checks number 31297 through 31374, totaling $642,752.39.
Did you make a motion with that? I will second that.
Okay, and then usually we do a roll call on that. Rasmussen,
Aye?
Appleby,
Aye.
okay. So you do have, those were all the checks. You do have the financial statements are in there through March. Now we've had the field work of the audit done. And we did flip over now to, basically you should have the year through March 31st. And we don't have, because the last couple of months we just had the checks on here, so we don't have the financial statements for you to act on, but they are in the packet bill for you to take a look at. And you don't need to act on them, we'll take care of it next month, so,
Real good.
okay?
Then that leaves us our next item, and that's the administrator's report.
Yes, we did have the auditors in through March. They did a lot of the field work. We did chat with them about financial software, which is an item that we talked about here. And we are right now currently collecting quotes for new financial software, and I've talked with the two main companies that our auditors in general had said that they run into more often. It's Civic Systems and Workhorse. And those are two that I know a lot of other communities work with Workhorse, and they work with Civic Systems too. But I'm hoping that at the next month's meeting that we should have quotes or a presentation or both to present to the finance committee. If that's the case, we could take May action on software and then start the process of maybe 2 to 3 months to get it installed and transition.
Will you have
The goal of this fall.
Will you have the presentation done to you and your office staff prior to bringing it to the financial
Yes,
committee so
Yes.
that you get a good feel for it?
Yep.
If you can stand behind it, then that will carry a
Yep.
lot of weight.
yep. Yeah, and depending on, we're not technologically advanced yet to be able to hook up electronically with vendors to give you a presentation, but we are in the office though, so if they're not locally here, we can still be, hooked up for like a webinar or like a live demo,
Sure.
so, yeah. Yeah, definitely, it's going to be something that we'll take a look at internally and with you guys too,
Great.
okay?
You can separate the wheat from the chaff then before it comes to us.
Yep, yep, yep. And that's really all I've got,
All right, well, thank you, Patrick.
yep.
Let's set the May finance meeting date and time.
We have, so for May, typically we've set the next month's meetings, but with the council, well, the election tomorrow, which on my administrator's report, that the election's tomorrow too, but, typically when the committees get realigned for April 21st, I think that's probably when they might wanna set, if you get a new finance committee, maybe this Monday, the first Monday wouldn't be good for them. It's up to you guys though, if you wanna identify that first Monday in May, or if you wanna leave it up to the April council meeting, once the new council comes in, they could select.
I think
What night will work for 'em?
historically, we do it in May.
Or at that meeting, you mean, at that meeting?
At that meeting, yeah,
Yeah, we can do that.
yeah.
I'll make a note here that I think the last couple terms, it's been the first Monday night, but, maybe that's your recommendation, then, is to just keep it the first Monday night, and then at that council meeting, they'll get to determine when they'll meet, I guess.
When they'll meet at that time,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
That's
we'll
what
do
I would
that then.
suggest. It just keeps it standardized the way it has been done, and in my mind, I think that might be easier.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my opinion, but that's my recommendation too.
That sounds good. So we will hold that. Well, in reality, it'll be that second council meeting on the 21st. The new council, when they're sworn in, then they'll set committees, and then you'll be able to set what day of the month typically they want to meet.
That's right.
Okay.
More than likely, they'll follow suit and say, well, when do we normally have it? And
That's
then-
probably what's
and
gonna
then
happen, but
That'll
yeah.
fall back into the old routine again.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, our next item, any other such matters as authorized by law?
Yeah, this is just a quick follow-up on the technology that we talked about for City Hall. And it could have been an administrator's report item too, but it's more to gauge with you guys. The City Hall construction is out for bid right now. The bids are due next Tuesday, the 14th. The treatment plant is also due on the 14th, and then we have some utility sewer lines that we'll be upgrading through town. That's a third contract that's out there for next Tuesday too. The thought was, on the 14th, we'll get an idea of what the costs are gonna be for City Hall and the treatment plant. And the city council meeting by law is held on the third Tuesday of this month. What we've tentatively put out there was for Monday night, April 20th, to see if we could have a joint Public Works and Finance meeting to review the treatment plant and the city hall bids to see where we're at there. Now, I don't think the 20th is when we'd review what all those costs are. City council meets the next night. I don't know if we'd be ready to turn around and award construction that next night. But perhaps what we may look at is Monday the 20th, we have a joint committee meeting. Tuesday the 21st is a regular council meeting. But maybe these projects get delayed till the next week, maybe April 28th, 27th, 28th. Because then that way we've got a week to review all the bids that come in, a week then to sit on what is the construction costs, what can we look at for technology, what can we look at for furniture, and then maybe April 27th, 28th is when you look at awarding construction for City Hall.
I think so.
But at this point though, April 27th, 28th would be the next council. Both of you are not up for re-election, so you'll be on the next council yet. But right now, just to check and see if Monday, the April 20th, which typically that's the regular council meeting night on that Monday, just to see if that makes sense to have a joint meeting, and I think it probably does. We can review those bids for City Hall and the treatment plant.
Yeah, whatever we have, we should start looking at as soon as possible.
Yep, and that'll give Cedar Corp roughly 6 days to review all the bids that come in and just making sure that, like we're doing with technology, to make sure that what everybody's bidding is really what we're looking for, and then see what the cost is from there.
Okay. So they're doing a little pre-screening on these bids?
Yes,
Prior-
while they're all sealed bids and they'll all be open at the same time.
Okay.
But Cedar Corp is going to review between the 14th and the 20th. They'll be doing a review to make a recommendation to you.
Okay,
And what they'll do then is they'll bring it to committee then on the 20th.
okay.
And then the next week, we could bring it through like a special council meeting and award or not, so. But if that sounds okay, like I said, usually
Yes.
that 20th would be the typical council meeting. The only thing that's different now is that Monday and Tuesday would end up being meetings. And it's in like a week and a half. Oh, 2 weeks from today,
Yeah,
sorry.
let's start reviewing it on the 20th.
Okay. Okay. Well, we will do that. And I appreciate your battling my cold today, so I appreciate the patience. It looks like we got out in a pretty good time. And then again, the 2 closed sessions for tonight, they wouldn't be necessary for tonight.
Okay, we'll pass on those, and in view of that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that at 6:57.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.